What's going on, everybody? My name is Ariel. I'm on the marketing team here at ReminderMedia, as well as the producer of Stay Paid Podcast, which is obviously near and dear to our hearts. I'm here with Josh Syke, the Chief Marketing Officer at ReminderMedia. And today we're going to go over just some frequently asked questions. We get a ton of questions from real estate agents about social media. We know that that's a very difficult thing to kind of master in the realm of real estate because you have so many other things going on. So we have about 5 or 6 questions here that we're just going to go over. I'm going to ask you, Josh. I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
I'm ready.
A ton of experience with
I'm ready.
this.
There is no real answer for social media, but we're going to go over some strategies that we've seen work time and time again.
Mm-hmm. And we do go over a lot of these on our Stay Paid podcast as well. So if you're not listening on our Stay Paid feed, make sure that you head on over to Stay Paid and check out some of those episodes because we have a lot relating to that. So are you ready?
That's a wonderful plug. Yes, I'm ready.
We're going to ask you the very first question, which is, what is a social media strategy and how will real estate agents create one, or how should they create one?
I think ultimately, like anything that you're doing in your marketing or your business, you have to start with what is your goal, right? Mm-hmm. So what is your goal with social media? If it's just to be on social media, or if it's to generate leads for your business, or if it's to build an audience and start to build a tribe, you need to know what your goals are so that you can start to work backward from there. Personally, the way that I look at it is, if you are a business and you are on social media as your business, your goal is to generate leads for your business. Now, those leads can come multiple different ways. That can come from building those relationships. That can come from direct calls to action. But you want to make sure that you are ultimately leading back to generating business for you. Now, we've had guests on the podcast that have done this, a handful of different ways. We just had Matt Leonetti on the podcast. He does it through just being funny, right? Yeah. And building up that audience and building up that tribe that way. We had Shannon Gillette was on the podcast. That was an incredible episode. And the majority of her leads were actually coming through her social media organically because of how she posts and the particular strategy that she went through in terms of her content and everything. The other thing that you've got to think about when posting on social media in terms of your goals is how people are finding you on social media. Social is a search platform now. When somebody hears of you or the services that you provide, they are going to look you up on social media. So you need to be present there in order to add that credibility, build that trust with people, and then from how you actually start to develop out what your goals should look like, keep in mind the SMART goals. All right, SMART goals are one of those things that you can apply to pretty much any area of your business. What SMART goals means, they have to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So if you're going into social media, don't go in with the idea of, I want to generate leads for my business or I want to build a tribe. Start building out SMART goals that will allow you to say, I'm going to post 2 days every day on social media. Here's the types of content that I'm going to post. Ultimately, that'll control your day-to-day action and start to bring in some of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, totally. That was such a thorough answer.
I took notes. I've heard these questions ahead of time.
Yeah, we did talk about this before. I said, are you ready for this? And he showed me his pages of notes. He's more than prepared to give you guys all the value on this one. So, second question is, what is the best social media platform for real estate agents to be on?
Yeah, so another one, and I've tried to make sure, I was talking to you before the episode, I'm trying to make sure not to give like the generic marketing response, which is, well, it depends.
Yeah, it depends.
But in so many of these areas, it truly does depend. And what I would say here for kind of a definitive answer is go with the social media platform that you are most naturally drawn to. Use the platform that you're going to actually, that you're finding yourself drawn to anyway during the day, whether that's Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever those platforms are, because you want to make sure that you're posting and trying to build an audience where you feel comfortable and where you naturally want to be, because you'll then end up spending more of your time there. If you never go on Twitter personally and you're trying to build an audience on Twitter, it's going to be a lot harder for you. It's not impossible,
right.
And you still want to maybe add that to your different platforms that you're working on, but definitely focus on the ones that you'd be most likely to use. The other thing that would be, where's your audience at? So this is the other way to approach it, is looking for what type of audience are you looking to connect with? Where are they at? What's their age? What's their gender? What's their income level? Maybe what's their job? So for instance, if you're trying to build relationships with business owners, you might not be spending your time on Instagram trying to connect with a bunch of business owners. You might want to turn your attention to LinkedIn. Similarly, if you're looking for a younger audience, you want to go to something like TikTok or Instagram versus one of those other platforms. Just as an idea, this actually surprised me, but Facebook, their largest age group is 25 to 34 still. So 26% of the audience is 25 to 34, 56% are male. Instagram has a larger audience. So 33% of Instagram users are 25 to 34, but 57% are female. That kind of gives you an idea of where the audience is at in terms of Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn skews older, 46 to 55-year-olds, 51% male. So very evenly split in terms of gender there. TikTok has the largest age group of the 18 to 24-year-olds, with 59% being female. And then this was really interesting. YouTube has 72% of all male and all female internet users. So if you're thinking about YouTube, if you're good at video creation and video content, YouTube is going to have one of the largest audiences for you. The other thing that I would say here is how you're planning on using social media, which links back to your goals. If you're trying to build almost that brand perception, right? Instagram is a great platform for that because it's so visual. It's also really good for those one-to-one type of relationships. But if you want to focus more on the community aspect, Facebook is a lot more suited for building a community because you can build like a local group there on Facebook. There's a lot more group interaction versus Instagram, which feels to me, just through my usage, very one-to-one. Most of the relationships there are built through your DMs, right? Not necessarily through the comment section or some other sort of group interaction.
Right. And I love Instagram. If I had to pick personally, I'd probably go Instagram because you kind of get the best of everything. You get the story action, the interaction that you can do from DMs. I can't tell you how many people I've been introduced to or met solely through viewing their stories and saying, wow, I really love that, whatever X, Y, and Z you're posting about.
Instagram may be one of the best, if you're doing it right and you're connecting with people and you're showing up in their story feed, one of the best ways to stay top of mind for sure.
And the other thing with that, because of stories, if you are messaging back and forth, generally if you engage with their content, that content comes up more prevalently in their feed than you did before, essentially. So
absolutely.
I'm a little biased towards Instagram, but all of them are great. You just have to pick one and be consistent with it. That's the biggest part about all of this is, and I'm sure you might touch on this later, is just being consistent over time. If you do it one time, and that's kind of what you were touching on of what are you drawn to more naturally, is if you only do it one time, it's not going to be.
Consistency over time is the number one measure or method of success with social media for sure. For anything, but definitely social.
So you pick a social media platform, or maybe more than one. You pick a social media platform, but what kind of content should you be posting? That's our next question.
No, absolutely. So we always coach our clients on this idea of 3 E's. We like acronyms and little catchy things around here at Reminder Media. So we kind of go with this idea of 3 E's, which means you should be focusing on educational content, entertaining content, and endearing content. Now, that's not all the content that you should be posting, but that's a way to set up a framework in your mind. If you have a well to go back to and tap consistently for different topics that you want to post on. Entertaining content, this can be created content, so content that you're actually creating, or it could be curated content, something that you find interesting that you think would be entertaining to other people. It doesn't have to be, funny stuff. It can be funny stuff. It can be memes. It can be humor. If you're a humorous person, you can put that out there as entertaining content. But it could also be recipes. It could be recipe videos. People find that entertaining. It could be, if you're in real estate, it could be fun, or like videos about like luxury homes or something like that everyone kind of loves to look at, those luxury homes and get on Zillow and look at those listings that you can't quite attain. But so that would be one way to do it. The other way is educational, like we talked about. So this is showcasing your expertise. This is one of those areas where I think people have paralysis by analysis when it comes to the educational content because they don't know what to post. This is where you almost have to take a step out of your own business and your own knowledge and look at what you know that other people don't know. I'll give a great example of this. I was speaking to my brother recently because he owns a business, and he was talking about a social media strategy and wasn't sure what to post and what kind of content to use. And I was sitting there talking to him about this idea of the 3 E's. And one of those pieces, the endearing piece and the educational piece, kind of combine here together. But he told me a story about how I think she was 13 at the time. She's 14 now, my niece, his daughter. Sorry, Lily, if I got that wrong. But she wanted to earn some money, right? Now, she has a part-time job now, so she's earning money that way. But she wanted to earn some money around the house, earn an allowance. He would give her chores, essentially, to do. Some of it was cleaning his office, dusting his computer, that kind of stuff. But in order for her to get paid, she had to create an invoice. And then he would pay her on that invoice. And I said, dude, that is your content right there. Like, that is a perfect piece of content. Number one, it's endearing, that you taught your 13-year-old how to create an invoice. Because I remember when I got my first freelance job and someone said, oh, just send me an invoice. I had no idea how to do that. It
instantly goes to Google.
Which leads into the educational piece, which is simply how to create an invoice, right? So that's a piece of content that you can put out there that touches on both of those things. Another piece that would be, educational, would be market updates. So we have a friend of the show, Will Penny. He does these all the time where he'll do a market update on his local area. Now, he also does it in a funny way because he acknowledges the fact that, hey, this probably isn't the most interesting thing in the world, but here it is. I want to make sure that I'm the one that you come back to whenever you need the information on the market. Endearing would be, things like your charity, things like your family, things like your personal beliefs, things that would endear people that you want to work with towards you. Jenna Kutcher has a great, the JK5. So she kind of uses this framework as well, where it's like, pick the 5 things in your life that you want other people to know about. Because again, it's not about what you're posting. It's the fact that you have a framework or pillars in place that you can go back to where you don't have to think about what to post. You just have to come up with something within those. So she does the 5 things that you want people to know about you. Hers personally are her marriage, her life, her travels, the hard stuff. So it's like the hard stuff in business. That's an actual topic that you can come back to and focus on. Because now when you're going through your day-to-day, if you run into a challenge, okay, I can actually post about this and share this with people that are following me. And then the last one, of course, is her actual work.
Next question. What suggestions do you have for agents to capture attention and have someone stop scrolling through their feed?
Booty dance.
Going back to TikTok.
Always go with the TikTok. No, so this is the toughest thing in social media, right? It's how to stop the scroll. You've got someone thumbing through. You picture how you get on Facebook, how you look through Instagram. It's getting someone to stop and actually pay attention. Obviously, the visual is the biggest piece of it. Finding a visual that someone is going to stop scrolling and take a second look. But really, in terms of the importance, it's your headline. And this goes back to David Ogilvy, the ad writer, one of the most famous ad men ever, talked about how 80% of your budget, 80% of your dollars should be spent on your headline. And I remember reading a book. I can't remember if I think it was Hey Whipple Squeeze This, which is a great name for a book. If anyone remembers the old commercials, the old Charmin commercials, he had this guy, Mr. Whipple. And so was Luke Sullivan wrote the book, but he said, if you need one headline, write 100. And that really is true from the standpoint of you've got to, number one, you're going to come up with a bunch of different headlines and a bunch of different things out of that, and it's just going to spark that creativity. But the most important thing there is just to kind of talk about how important the headline is, whether you're writing it about self-interest, you're writing curiosity, urgency. You want to make sure that you're tracking and keeping track of which headlines and which type of post that you're posting actually work. The other thing that I would say here, pay attention to what captures your attention, right?
That's huge.
So if you see something on Facebook or you see something on Instagram, screenshot that, save it in a folder on your phone to come back to for inspiration for your own posts. You can even on YouTube, and we did a reel about this, you can even create like a playlist of ads that catch your attention. So like if you right click on a YouTube video, it'll give you the option to copy the debug info, which I know is a very technical term, but it's super simple. You copy it, you paste that into a Word doc, and then you look for the ad doc ID. Whatever comes after that ad doc ID, that's the YouTube ID, the video of that ad. You can then replace the URL on the video that you're watching. It comes after the V equals. I'm getting super nerdy here now. But after the V equals in the URL, that will then bring you to the ad video. You can then add that to a playlist to come back to and remember it. Yeah. The other cool thing there is you can see how many views it's gotten.
Yes, and how long it's been running which
is the next tip. Spy on your competition.
Yes.
Right? So talking about ads particularly, Facebook has, their ads they used to call them dark posts, but they're just ads now, I think is what they're called. Because basically they're things that don't show up in a business's timeline. Right. But you can go to Facebook ads library, just Google Facebook ads library. You can look up your competition. You can look up other brands and see every ad that they're running. Number one, gives you ideas for your own content and your own ads. And then number two, like you just said, you can see if someone's been running an ad for a few months, it's probably because it's working.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Question number, I think this is 5. I threw a bunch of random questions at you during this whole thing. So putting Josh really on the spot. Didn't have notes for those. Question number 5, I believe, is how should real estate agents measure success when it comes to using social media? You kind of talked about that a little bit just now.
Yeah, we did kind of talk about that. Measuring success has to come from what your goals are. So if your goals are leads or new business, then that is your measure of success. We talked about Shannon Gillette and how, she got 90% of her deals came from her Instagram. We had another agent on, Glenda Baker, who was really focused on TikTok. She does a ton of like TikTok and YouTube shorts and reels type of content. She had 8 deals, from TikTok. So for me as a business, that's my measurement of success.
Yeah.
Now you can get more granular and more obsessive over the content and how the content is performing. And of course, you can go and look at your insights in Facebook or your professional dashboard in Instagram and look at, number of likes, number of comments. The one biggest thing for Instagram would be look at how many people are saving your post. That save huge option is a little bookmark or save option on Instagram on post. If you find people saving a particular type of post a lot, you know that you're producing really, really high quality content, because that means that they want to come back to it later. And that would be another way that you can basically measure your success. I mean, followers obviously is an obvious way of measuring success. Right. If you're finding yourself getting stale and not adding new followers regularly, it means something's off. Probably more than anything, you're just not getting noticed in people's feeds, which then would lead to doing the strategies to get back on top of people's feeds, which are interactions. So spend time during your day liking other people's posts, leaving comments. That will naturally make them want to like your post or come back to your page, which will then keep you top of mind and fresh in their feeds. The other great way to do that is, I can't remember who I learned this hack from, but right before you post a new piece of content, or let's say you post, let me walk you through this here. You post on Instagram today, right? Then tomorrow you post again. Go back to your post yesterday and like and reply to everybody's comments after you've posted your new piece of content, because that will likely bring them then to your new piece of content, which will cause them to interact with it, which will get the algorithms showing your content even more.
Big thing with this one as well. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but you want to make sure that you have a business profile on most of your accounts. That way you're able to actually see more in-depth analytics that you wouldn't be able to see on just like a regular personal type of account.
Yeah, great point.
That's huge there.
Yep.
And then last question is, how much should agents ideally spend on social media marketing?
Yeah, so this will be talking about paid advertising. This is another one of those questions where it sort of depends. But what I would say is you want to be spending about 10 to 20%, whatever your client's lifetime value is, you could be spending 10 to 20% on that, on acquiring that client on social media. So what that means is if you're selling a $300,000 house, if you're selling a $300,000 house, I would like to speak to you in your market. If you're selling a $300,000 house, you're going to make about $9,000 in GCI if you represent one side there. That means you could realistically spend $900 to $1,800 for that lead. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to spend $900 per lead. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean is, let's say you get 100 leads from social media, from your social media marketing. One of those turns into a lead, right? You spend $900 on those 100 leads, $9 a lead, produces you one deal. That's $900 spent on a $9,000 commission. Also keeping in mind that your client's lifetime value does not end after that first transaction or with that first commission check. Number one, the average person moves every 5 years. So if you've maintained a relationship with them, they're going to come back to you and use you again. Number two, they are going to know a handful of people every single year that will also need your services. And if you're staying in touch with them and you're doing the right things to build a relationship, you're going to get those referrals. So if you look at it from that way, and I would highly, highly recommend, if you're not already tracking your client's lifetime value, begin doing this. It's not too late to start now. Start tracking not only what was the commission check on that first transaction, but then how many referrals did they send you? How many of those referrals turned into business for you? What was the GCI on each one of those? And now you've got a true client lifetime value. You might be able to be spending a lot more on your clients than you realize. I forget who said it. Unfortunately, I want to give credit where credit's due, but they basically said, like, their goal was to be able to spend the more than anybody else on a lead. because of the value that their clients would bring to them and how they can maintain that relationship and continue to get new business from it. I'll give you an example because I know we hear the numbers and you go, okay, how's that achievable? Or show me something real. We work with one of our real estate clients, and we went through and looked at what they spent on their Facebook ads. What we built their Facebook ads for them. They spent $9,111 on their ads. They generated 991 leads. So that's $9.19 CPL or cost per lead. 10 deals came out of that. So that ended up being 911 cost per acquisition, $70,000 in commissions.
That's wild.
So 13% of their GCI, right, on that 70,000 was spent on acquiring those 991 leads that led to 10 deals that led to the 70,000 in GCI. So that's some numbers for you. We also have a great calculator. If you go to remindermedia.com/calculator, where you can plug in your average home sale, you can plug in all of your conversion points along the way. So leads to listing appointment to listing taken to home sold, etc. It'll actually allow you to plug in all of your different conversion numbers there, and it'll basically tell you what you can spend on a lead at that point.
Love that. That's incredible. That's very valuable information. Love that. We say that a lot out here in King of Prussia, PA, whenever we're in the studio. Love that. Thank you so much for all of those lovely answers.
Thank you.
Anytime. That's what I'm here for.
From behind the camera to out in front.
In front of it, and now we're going to record
hopefully
some
many more
Stay Paid
times.
episodes, and I will be right back in my desk right behind it. If you have any questions that you want us to answer, please feel free to shoot us a message or an email at hello@remindermedia.com.
That'll work.
Thanks so much for watching.